Hey everyone, this is Ira with the library's Makerspace for the second Makerspace teaser video that I'm going to be doing. Today it's going to be on our Cricut Maker machine. It's a die-cut cutting machine that you can use for various projects. It's really good for cutting through different things like vinyl, adhesive vinyl, cardstock, different kinds of paper, stuff like that. Today our project, we're going to take this adhesive back to vinyl, and we're going to use the Cricut software in order to put an image on the software, have it cut out through this, and then I'm going to put some transfer tape onto that so then you can use it to make a sticker to stick on things. So stay tuned, I'll walk you through the project, and hope you enjoy. Right, so this is the Cricut Maker machine. Essentially they call this thing a die-cut cutting machine. Essentially what it does is you have these little blades. Here's an example of one right there, if you can see it, that you install as a cutting tool, and then you basically have whatever material you use. Today we're going to use this adhesive backed vinyl. We put it on this adhesive backing thing, and then essentially you insert this into the machine. Once it's turned on, you have it insert itself in the machine, and use the software itself in order to set up your cuts for whatever material you're using. Today we're going to be using adhesive backed vinyl, but you can use a variety of materials just depending on the blade. We have a couple different blades too. This is for, I think, heavier cardstock. This, I believe, you can use with fabric material. I haven't used it yet, but it's like a roller rotary. There's also a pen tool that you can use if you want to try to basically trace out text on different kinds of paper or cardstock. So you got a lot of variety, but today we're just going to be cutting through this adhesive backed vinyl in order to make a sticker. But this gives you an idea of what the Cricut Maker is like. Essentially, it's a cutting machine where once you have your design set up, the machine itself, it's going to use this blade and then cut out whatever text or images you have, and then once it's all done, you can just peel this thing off, and then you have your project ready to go for whatever you're using it for. So stay tuned for a overlook of the Cricut software. All right, so this is the Cricut Design Space. You can access this yourself, actually, if you just go to the Cricut website and look for the Design Space download. You can download it. It's free. You just gotta sign up with a email and a password, and then you should have access to Cricut Design for your own personal projects that you can start playing around with. And then once we're back open again, you can use your own Design Space account in order to access projects that you make from home and have them cut up through the Cricut Maker. For our purposes, we're just using the Cricut Design Space account that we set up when we got this machine. So when you double click on the Cricut Design Space icon on your desktop, you're going to come to this. This is the first home view. You've got up here all kinds of different things like calibrating your machine, setting it up. We're not going to go over that, but we are going to go over things like doing a new project up there. But I'm just going to show you a little overview of kind of what else there is. There's a thing called Cricut Access, which actually we don't have access to because it does cost money, but it gives you access to a bunch of different project ideas. And generally, like if we click on this dainty desk organizers, generally what there is there's a cost associated with utilizing this project. So today we're not going to use any of this just because we don't have the funds to basically pay for all these Cricut Access projects. So we just basically aim to do free simple projects that patrons can do without having to spend money. So, but this is just an option at home if you want to try to make your own Cricut Access account. I'm not sure how much that is, but you can look into that. There's also ready-to-make projects as well that you also get access to with Cricut Access. So if you click on leather baby shoes, looks like it's free with Cricut Access. Since we don't have Cricut Access, it would cost money, but this kind of just walks you through different projects that you can do with this, and it just gives you the whole project step by step. So yeah, if you want to play around with that, it's definitely worth looking into. So, all right, so now we're going to go into the new project area to create our project. So I'll click on new project. This is going to get you onto the canvas area. Essentially, this is the design spot where you're going to put all of your text and images, either ones that you've purchased from Cricut themselves, or you have this upload function where you can upload your own images that you create or that you find online, or if you want to say try cutting a JPEG image of a photo that you took or whatnot, you would use the upload function. But I'm just going to go over these little steps. So essentially, when you're looking at this area, you have things such as templates. This is basically just little template spots where you can work on different sorts of projects for the Cricut. I don't use this at all, so I'm not going to go over that today, but it's definitely worth exploring if you'd like. You can also click under projects. This essentially gives you access to all kinds of different projects that Cricut offers. Generally, from what I can tell, most of them do cost some money if you don't have Cricut access, which we don't. So it looks like to do this Eid Mubarak banner project, it would be 99 cents. So I'm not going to do any projects today that are going to cost money, but this is just an option that Cricut gives you throughout their projects template right here. There's likely hundreds or thousands that you can explore. Down here under images, if you click under browse all images, most of these are not free. Some of these are, which is nice, but as you can see, some of these do cost some money. But today I'm just going to play around for our project and see what kind of free images I can get. So if we click on ownership, go under free, looks like there is just about almost 3,000 free images that we could use in our project. So feel free to play around and look around and see what sorts of images you can use that are free for your upcoming projects. Go down to the text tool. So this is where you can add text to your project. So I'm just going to say something like MPL, space rocks. So this is where you put in your text, and as you can see, this is the area where it shows you where on your project template it's going to be. So this is going to be towards the top left corner of your cutting area. And for today's project, we're limited to a 12-inch by 12-inch area. So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. But as you can see, you've got different font options. Right now I'm using Cricut Sans. There's a bunch of fonts that you can, again, buy from Cricut, which we don't have access to Cricut Access here. So we're not going to be using any of these fonts today, but I'm going to click over on System. And these are all system fonts, all fonts on our computer that we've either downloaded or came installed with Windows. And you're free to actually use these because they came with the computer system. So as you can see, that just got changed to MPL Makerspace Rocks. Alright, so now that I've got this font set up how I like it, there's some other options that you've got. You can, of course, change the font if you'd like. You can also change the style from regular bold to italic to a bold italic. So if I click that, do that. It doesn't look that great, so I'm going to keep it to its original size. You can change the font size using this tool if you'd like. You can also use this tool as well. And with this lock tool on, it's going to keep everything proportional. You can also change the letter spacing. So if I increased this, you can see just the spacing. Each of these letters increases, whereas if I go down with this tool, that decreases, so the letters get more squished together. Line spacing would be good for if you had multiple sets of text stacked onto each other. That's basically just the spacing of each line between each piece of text. The alignment tool would be used for line spacing as well. Say if you had, for the MPL Makerspace rocks, if rocks was down here and set adjusted to the left side, you would use the alignment tool to basically center that rocks word underneath this, so it's all nice and centered to your text. You've also got this curve option, which is really interesting. I haven't really played around with that. So you can curve your text. That's kind of cool. I think I'm just gonna keep that like that. You've got these advanced options where you can ungroup the letters. So right now the letters are grouped as one design element. If you click on ungroup letters, essentially each letter will become its own design element. So if you wanted to say, with this project, MPL Makerspace rock or whatever else, if you ungroup the letters, each letter will become its own design element, and then you can delete or multiply different parts of each design element. Then up here you've got different kinds of cuts, such as a line type cut. So when you're actually having the machine itself cutting your design element, you can have it cut, draw, score, engrave, deboss, wave, or perf. Today we're just going to focus on cut, so I'm not going to go over these other settings, but that's definitely something to explore if you're interested in it. The fill, that's basically just a fill, I believe it's for a color for your font. There's a deselection tool, an editing tool for cutting and copying design elements. You can flip things horizontally or vertically. Whoa. You can change the actual size of your design element like that instead of using this. The width and the height. You can use this as the rotation tool. If you want to rotate this around, I'm just going to take it back to 0. And you can change your positioning on the design space itself. So that's it as far as text. All right, moving along, you've also got the shapes tool. This just gives you options to insert different kinds of shapes into your design. So say we wanted to, I don't know, make like a house shape. You click on the square tool right there, resize it like that, and then I will go back to shapes and use the triangle tool to make the top roof of the house, so to speak. And you can combine these like that. Whoops. Look that great, but that just gives you an idea. And then if you wanted to, you could highlight these, go up to group, and they're now grouped into one element instead of two. So I'm going to do the handy undo feature for that, and then I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. Next up, we'll go over the upload tool. So the upload tool is really nice. This is perfect for if you have an image online that you like, that you want to try to cut out from the Cricut. You have an image of a photo that you took, or a piece of art you took a photo of, or if you use something like Adobe Illustrator to create vector graphics files, you're going to use the upload tool to upload those pictures. As you can see, these are some things that we've uploaded from previous projects. And with the Cricut, basically the simpler images the better. Like this is a complex image that it could definitely cut out, but any sort of, I would say, JPEG pictures with a lot of background detail, it might be pretty hard for the Cricut itself to try to cut. So, but we'll go over that after we get done with this first project. All right, so back to our project. So I want to add exclamation mark under this text. What you can do is double click that, and you can add more elements to your text. So MPL Makerspace rocks. And then, yeah, I'm going to search for a free image using the Cricut image search and see what I can kind of find to add into this, just for kind of a simple little thing that we can cut out today. So click on images. Looks like it still remembered that we're doing the free trial of images. So I'm just going to kind of scroll down, scroll around. As you can see, there are like tons of things to pick from. All right, so I did find an image. There wasn't anything totally Makerspace related, but I did find this one called I Love Technology that I think is kind of cool. So I'm going to just insert that. So once you find your image that you like, click Insert Images, and that's going to insert it onto your workspace. And now I can just resize it to my heart's content. And essentially this came out as 2 layers. For our project today, I'm going to combine everything into what's called 1 layer. Essentially that makes it easy for the cutting tool to cut everything out onto stuff like adhesive vinyl. There's an option in Cricut called a print then cut, which we're not going to do today, but a print then cut basically it gives you the option to print out your image first using whatever printer you have at home. This one you'd need a color printer, and then so you print that out first, and then you actually have the Cricut cut out the image itself so that all the color is retained. Today we're not going to use that tool just because we're using adhesive vinyl, and I don't have a color printer in here to use for a print and cut project, so we're just going to keep it nice and simple today. Alright, so now I want to basically make sure all of these design elements are going to work in this project. So it does take a little bit of fiddling around. So with this, I think this should work. Should fit in the 12-inch by 12-inch area that I've got. Increase that a little bit, move that down. Let's see if I can increase that size. Right there. Bump that up a little bit. So now I'm going to essentially try to align these 2 things like that. See if we can align them. See, center vertically. Whoops, I don't want to do that. This handy undo tool. Select both of these again. Whoops. Let's see. Center vertically. Alright, so it's nice and centered. Alright, so now I'm going to basically combine these 2 into a group. So I'm going to highlight these both, go to this group tool. So now they're all grouped into 1 design element. They're no longer 2 different design elements. So, okay, so at this point we just need to make sure that this is going to be cut okay from the Cricut. So we'll test it out. I think I'm going to have to finagle a few of the things and play with this attach tool, but we'll just see what this looks like. So if you're happy with all your design elements and you're ready for the Cricut to cut through your whatever material you're using and create these images, cut them out, you click on Make It, and it's gonna sort these by color. And so as you can see, it's completely messed up the arrangement of how I want it to look. So I want to click on Cancel, and I'm going to make sure I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to use the Attach tool. And what the Attach tool does is it essentially just attaches all your design elements into what you see here. So it's super helpful for basically getting what you created in this space right here to be cut exactly the same way as you created it with the machine itself. So I'll click on Attach. As you can see, the color got taken out of that heart. Then if we go to Make It, should hopefully have retained everything. So yeah, so we've got the MPL Makerspace rocks here at the top, and the I Love Technology right there. And essentially what's going to happen is all of these are going to get cut out, as well as this from the adhesive vinyl. So I'm just going to click on Cancel and go back for a second and go over a few other tools. Alright, now for a few other settings that we can go over. Over on this Layers tool right now. So essentially if I didn't want to have both of these design elements cut at the same time, I would click on Detach. But I don't want to do that, so I'm going to do Undo. Whoops. The weld function essentially welds two different design elements together, so it's really good. I'll show you as an example. If we take these shapes, let's say a circle, maybe we'll do a star in the middle. Use the weld tool to essentially weld these two elements together like that, so they're not two different design elements. This actually works pretty well, the weld tool, also for font elements that are like, say, if you're using a cursive font. Let's see if I've got that option for that. Don't think I really do. No, but essentially, like with the weld tool, you would use that to weld different design elements together. So if I used a cursive font, it would make sure that all of the letters were connected, like in a cursive type style. The slice function right here, which I'll show you what that does, you essentially can use it to slice different shapes together. So let's say I wanted this square right here. I'll take let's do an octagon shape. Have that set like in the middle right there. Highlight these both, and then I can use the slice tool to essentially slice. It's going to slice each element to its own thing. So that's handy for doing sort of kind of freehand design using the shapes tool here. And then the flatten tool, that's essentially if you have multiple layers in your design element, like if this had multiple other graphics going with it, the flatten tool will just flatten all of those design elements into one section to make it easier for cutting. And then there's a thing, you can kind of see it, it's blanked out, but the contour tool, according to the Cricut website, it allows you to hide a portion of an image layer by removing any unwanted cut lines. Since we only have one layer set up on this, we're not going to use that tool, but if you ever use elements where there's different image layers on your design, you would use the contour tool to basically hide different portions of your images. So I'm not going to go over that today, but that's something to explore as well if you want to kind of dive deep into the Cricut design space. All right, so I'm ready to make this project. So I'm going to click on Make It. It's going to say sort by sorting project by mat, and this looks good to me. It's going to take up most of the mat space. Material size looks good. That's the mat that I'm using, a 12 by 12. Yeah, so I will just click on Continue. It's going to make sure that your Cricut Maker is connected. Then you're going to want to set your material, so you can browse all materials. Essentially, I'm just going to search for that. I'm going to do just basic, let's see, just vinyl. This is kind of just some adhesive vinyl that we had, so I'm just going to go with the basic setting for that. Click on Done. Pressure, I'm going to keep at default. And then we just do all of this, which I'm going to do right now. And I'll show you how to get it set up. All right, so we are back to the machine, and we are just about ready to get it to go. So once you are ready to go, you just click this Load Mat tool right here. Oops, looks like it didn't work that time, so I'm going to try it again. Whoops, it's going to unload it. All right, so you want to kind of hold it like that. Click the Load tool. There we go, perfect. All right, so when that's all ready to go, you just click this little tool right there with the C for Cricut, and it'll start cutting. As you can see, it's just starting to cut the outline. Looks like the I Love Technology. And that's pretty much it. Once it's going, you can kind of just let it do its thing, and you want to make sure you have enough space behind the machine itself so it's not hitting up against a wall, because this thing is going to be going towards the back of the machine. So we will let this do its thing, and I'll show you the result in just a minute. Alright, so here's the completed project. As you can see, it turned out pretty good. I had to do what's called weeding, which basically means all the excess vinyl I had to peel off from this. And it took some time. I would say it took probably like 5 to 10 minutes to make sure everything came out alright and nothing got ripped. As you can kind of see up here, the spacing of the letters got a little wonky, but I can just basically take an X-Acto knife and try to realign those. But right now, after using this, essentially what I can do is take some transfer tape, put that over this, and then take the transfer tape and place it on. I could do it on a window in here. I could do it on pretty much anything. You could put it on a car. You could put it on pretty much whatever you want. But the transfer tape essentially will take this adhesive vinyl, transfer it onto that, and you can place the transfer tape. Essentially, you place it down on whatever surface you want this to be adhered to, and then it will become a sticker on whatever that surface may be. So this gives you an idea of the completed project. It only took a few minutes to cut, but the longest part was actually getting it to getting all the excess vinyl dealt with and taken off of here. So for the next project on here, we're just going to upload a simple image, and then I will show you how quick that is to cut and get that off of this. Okay, for this next simple project, I'm just going to upload our MPL logo and see how I can fit it onto the space here and just have it be cut out of some of that excess vinyl. So this should be pretty easy, but this will show you how to use the upload function. So we will click on upload. What we're going to do is upload our images here. We don't want to use what's called a pattern fill. We're not going to be using the image for a pattern or anything. We're just going to simply upload it and have it be cut up. So if we click on upload image, we'll click on browse. Whoops. With some logos I was going to cut out, but we're just going to do the simple, let's see, MPL logo square. So that's super simple. I think it should be really easy for the machine to cut out. There shouldn't be too much excess material to have to take out. It's going to take a minute, but it should work pretty well. So when you upload images, you'll also have this option to essentially choose whether it's a simple, moderately complex, or complex image. Complex images would be something like a picture that you might have taken of one of your animals, where you're going to basically need to play around with the contrast of the colors of the image in order to set it up for a cut. We're just going to choose simple because we basically have a simple black and white image. So we'll click on that. We will click on continue. Let's see if this got loaded. Let's see, there we go. Okay, so now what we need to use is the select and erase tool, essentially to make sure that we erase all of these elements behind here, as well as what's between these letters, in order for the machine itself to try to cut this image out of the vinyl. So under the select and erase tool, I'll click select and erase. You just click here, and so once you get this checkered background, that tells you that it essentially cut out elements of your image that you don't want. So this is perfect. So I'll just click on that, click there, click there, click there, click there, click there, 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 click on the P, the U, the L, I, C. Just keep going through until you basically can see that checkered element. So I will zoom in a little bit and see if we got it all. Yeah, it looks like we've got everything. So this should actually turn out to be a pretty good cut. So once you're happy with that, you'll click on continue. So if we did a print then cut image, we basically print this thing out on a piece of paper and then have it cut itself out. What we're going to do is do it as a cut image. So we're going to click on this. we'll click on save. So now it's saved over here, uploaded. So now we just click on that, we click on insert images, and then it's going to insert it into our workspace. So with the piece of vinyl that I've got, I only have about, what is it? It's 9 inches by 12 inches to work with. So I think we've pretty much almost maxed it out. So I'm just going to slightly resize it. Move this over just like that. Well, I'm going to have to resize it down so it fits all through that. So, but yeah, this is just a simple image that I just uploaded that should cut really, really easily with the Cricut, because it's not a complex thing. So it's basically just going to be cutting the outlines of this, and then I will just take the adhesive vinyl off from that, so then we can retain this. So I'm happy with that. It's all one image, so I don't have to group it or anything or use the attach tool. So I'm just going to click on Make It. And it actually chose to change the size. So I'm going to just click Cancel, and I'm going to resize this because it looks like it does not want to try to work with what I've got. So I'll try it at that size and see if it's going to work. Click on Make It. All right, so that should totally work. So click on Continue. Browse all materials. I'll choose vinyl again. Whoops. There, click Done. Okay, keep default good. All right, we are back and ready to go. So I'm just going to click this to load in the material. That's good to go. I'm just going to click the C to cut it, and we'll see how it goes. Looking good, looking pretty good so far. So, yeah, no issues, no bunching up of the material. Looks like it's doing its thing. So, we'll come back in a second and see how it cut. All right, as you can see, it turned out a little bit better. It took me maybe about 5 minutes to get all of those little letters out of there. But essentially, yeah, this is what we've got from the logo to it getting cut out. And then I could use transfer paper on this, put it over that, and then figure out a place I wanted to post this up as a vinyl sticker. So I hope you have enjoyed this video series and learned some things. Keep an eye out to MissoulaPublicLibrary.org to find out more about when we're going to be open back up to the public. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed the video and hope to see you soon. Take care. Thanks.